Now, the controversial Agyapa royalty deal could scuttle after today because some of the conditions spelled out could run out of time. Now, Joy Business has learned that proponents of the deal are under pressure for Agyapa to be listed on the London Stock Exchange. One of the key conditions in the deal was to privatize about 49% of Agyapa on the London Stock Exchange. But as it stands now, the agreement will expire today, the 31st of December 2020. This means the project will cease existing after today, despite President Akufo-Addo asking the finance minister to withdraw the earlier document covering the deal for amendment. Civil society and other groups have all chastised the Agyapa deal because of the way and manner government prepared the transaction document for parliamentary approval. Let's discuss this further. I'm joined by Country Director of CAST International, Pierre Kusi Admako. Great to have you. Happy holidays to you, sir. What does it mean for the deal if this 31st December deadline to meet key conditions is not met?
Thank you very much. Per the agreement between Agyapa Deals and then London Stock Exchange, if we are unable to list by close of business today, that means that the agreement lapses and then they will need to initiate a fresh process in order to be able to list. But looking at how things are turned out, I'm very doubtful that we'll be able to proceed with the agreement in its current form and nature because of the controversies that have surrounded the deal. And we are also aware that the president asked the finance minister to take the agreement back to parliament. And with the current election and then the new, how the next parliament will be, I think it will serve as a very good interest to bring the deal back to Parliament, consider all possible options before deciding whether the Agyapa deal is the best option for us or something better is there for the country other than the Agyapa deal.
Itself in the foot for not doing due diligence?
I think for due diligence, I wouldn't say due diligence wasn't done, but I think that the agreement could have been handled in a more better way. Because you want to do investment like this, you need to look at all the possible options and portfolios and see which of them gives you a higher return before you go there and invest in that. And I think that we were just focused on, we had a tunnel vision for a Agyapa deal, and I think that kind of also clouded our sense of thinking with regards to this. So I'll be happy if the deal comes back to Parliament, and even Parliament set up a committee to advise Parliament on the way forward for how do we handle our mineral royalties as a country. I think we should put Agyapa aside and consider whether there are other alternative investment deals that is best suited for the country. And if there is none, then maybe we may reconsider Agyapa deal. But there are other issues. Why do we have to even list in the tax haven? We know that for corporate sustainability and other ethical principles, most businesses who were listed in the tax havens have stopped and they have moved to countries where they are paying a good corporate taxes. And so we need to take it back to Parliament and do what will be good for the country and for future generations.
My next question to you was going to be whether we should keep pursuing this, but I just heard you say perhaps we should look at other investment alternatives. And so what happens next after this deadline, do you think?
I mean, after this, this current Agyapa deal cannot be listed in the London Stock Exchange, starting from 1st of January. It can't happen because of, I'm told that the London Financial Conduct Authority is also doing their own thing about and there has been a lot of petition to the London Financial Service Authority concerning the deal. And meanwhile, here in Ghana too, we've also not tidied up on the deal itself. So I think that it will be very good for the next Parliament to consider the way forward for Agyapa deal. But for me, I will say that it will be very helpful if we consider Agyapa Deal, in addition to other options, to know which of them will yield the best return for the nation before we go forward. So I wouldn't be surprised if another option comes better than Agyapa Deal.
Thanks for speaking with us. That was Apia Kusi Admako, who is a country director of CAS International. I appreciate your perspective.